All right, all right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We almost went to our old intro. That was kind of freaked me out for a bit, but here we are. Excited to be back. We got Steven with us. Thank you, Steven, for joining us in different time zones.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, missing our other dudes, but we know pastor life calls and we get busy. So, but we're here. We've been going through the book of Hosea. It's been awesome to see kind of the heart of God in the Old Testament, and we're gonna jump into Hosea 11. But before that, Steven, how's it going, man? How you doing?
Things are good, man. Just been busy, obviously.
Yeah.
With moving out west, but yeah, things have been good. Just trying to settle into our new place and
Got you.
figure stuff out. But,
Yeah, man.
Life's been good. Paying attention to some of the Olympics where I can, and of course, free agency.
Right.
But, outside of that, man, just trying to adjust to a new pace, new rhythm, man.
That's it. It's a different time, man. And you're already rocking the California gear, man. Stanford.
Oh, this Stanford. I've had this for a while, but yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm not near Stanford at all. I'm not near Stanford at all. So
it's Stanford North? I don't even know where.
I think it's north. Yeah, I could be wrong. North or central?
No, yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, well,
we'll find out.
It's still in California, which everyone thinks is the same thing, but saying it's in California could be.
Yeah.
On the east is like 4 or 5 states up.
Right. And here it's like, just drive 10 hours south north and you'll be there in California. So yeah, that's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, but no, we've been good. We've been doing some remodeling. We put new flooring. We took carpet out from 2 of our rooms.
It looks good in there.
And yeah, we hung up these things in the back to try to create some depth or artistic touch.
I mean, it looks good. I mean, I got bare walls behind me, right?
Hey, that works, man. When there's nothing else, we got different things going on, and so yeah, man. But we're excited. We're good. It's been a crazy time for us here in Florida. I don't know how it's been in Cali, but we've had a huge spike. As I was mentioning earlier, it's like, I think the news had said like 1 in 3 COVID hospitalizations in the United States are happening in Texas or Florida. So very red state. Our hospitals here in our city are like,
are they filling up again?
They're over capacity, and they have more patients than they did at the highest peak last time around. So not even higher than February, March of this year, and higher than last year too. So it's the worst we've seen. So trying to navigate that in a time when people think it's already over, and it's like, no, it's
very much not over, which is something I've had to kind of moving from Florida to California. You're kind of like, that adjustment process has been interesting. Whereas Florida, I feel like we never really did the pandemic completely, in terms of taking steps to prevent and do things like that.
Right.
But California's kind of been on the other end, where they were closed for so long that now they're trying to step into something new. And so you're kind of seeing a couple places here, a little bit more, have you mask up, even if you're vaccinated.
Right.
Just because California was closed for so long that they don't ever want to go back. My church just opened, out here. And
wow.
So some of those things where they've only been open for a month and a half, they're trying to refine their groove. But you're also just looking over your shoulder to make sure that another shutdown doesn't happen.
Right. You're just trying to be
different,
Yeah, for sure, man. So just definitely want to recommend everyone to get vaccinated. I mean, I know people have different thoughts on vaccines, but as we've seen for the last year, everything, there's higher risks in getting COVID than getting vaccinated. And so, and then what happens when you're not vaccinated, your body doesn't have anything to fight the virus that comes in. It mutates, and that's how we got the Delta variant, which is far worse than the first COVID strain we had.
The
original. So if we don't get on top of this, it's just going to keep mutating, and then it's tough, man. 90, at least, I guess it's still nationwide, but even here, it's like 90+% of people that are going to the hospital because of COVID that are being hospitalized are unvaccinated people. So it's definitely showing us here that, hey, vaccines are helping. You can still get sick. You can still carry the virus, but it's helping to not lead people to the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and so those dire situations.
Yeah. So, And shout out, I mean, to or a quick, prayer thought for our friend. Remember Sarah Andrews from?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. So I'm not sure how she's doing today, but I know yesterday she's been in the ICU with COVID. She's our age. And so we're just praying for her, keeping her lifted up. Not sure if you've heard anything, but I know yesterday I think they said she was doing a little better.
Yeah, that's what I saw. That was the last night.
Or last night, yeah.
So hopefully trends that way.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is another. Oh man. August 5, yeah. Yeah, so yesterday it was kind of like miraculous what they were seeing there. So, all right, so we're going to jump into the word for our Bible and brunch.
Hey, breakfast for me. So
that's facts. That's facts. It is 8:16, man. I appreciate you getting up, man. 8:16. Where was I at 8:16? Yes, today. But yeah. All right, so we just jump in. Hosea 11. And it goes like this: when Israel was a child, I loved him. This is God speaking through the prophet Hosea. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. But the more they were called, the more they went away from me. They sacrificed to the Baals, and they burned incense to images. It was I who taught Ephraim to walk, taking them by the arms, but they did not realize it was I who healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, with ties of love. To them I was like one who lifts a child to the cheek, and I bent down to feed them. Will they not return to Egypt, and will not Assyria rule over them because they refuse to repent? A sword will flash in their cities. It will devour their false prophets and put an end to their plans. My people are determined to turn from me, even though they call me God Most High. I will by no means exalt him. How can I give you up, Ephraim? How can I hand you over, Israel? How can I treat you like Admah? How can I treat you like Zeboim? My heart is changed within me. All my compassion is aroused. I will not carry out my fierce anger, nor will I devastate Ephraim again. For I am God and not a man, the Holy One among you. I will not come against their cities. They will follow the Lord. He will roar like a lion. When he roars, his children will come trembling from the west, and they will come from Egypt trembling like sparrows, and from Assyria fluttering like doves. And I will settle them in their homes, declares the Lord.
And there's one more verse, right? Is it number 12?
Oh, true.
Verse 12? I think,
yeah. Ephraim has surrounded me with lies. Israel was with deceit, and Judah is unruly against God, even against the faithful Holy One.
It feels like it starts the beginning of 12, but
man, you got a resettlement coming on at the end there. I will settle them in their homes. So God's dealing with refugees.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Yeah,
the spiritual refugees, I guess, or here at least they were actual refugees because they came from exile. So, yeah, man. So nothing very interesting about what we've been seeing through Hosea is just in a really deep exposure of God's heart and love and his feelings towards his people, right? So like obviously you see it in the Gospels very clearly when Jesus is here and what he thinks about humans, how he interacts, how he heals, what he does and how he talks. It really shows a lot. He is God, so he shows his feelings towards his people. But here, it's kind of like the catch-22 that parents sometimes feel when their kids are bad and they love them, but they're trying to be like good parents.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do I teach them a lesson, but how do I allow the consequences to come? But I just hurts me to see them hurt, and I love them. And you kind of see this even here, right? From that. But I guess starting just from the beginning there, just that idea, that parent language here, right? Where it's one of the commentaries I was reading was talking about, I guess we'll put the scholar slip-ups, how this is just a beautiful portrayal of like Israel as a prodigal son and God the Father, just saying, hey, like, I'm at the beginning, it's like, hey, you were a child, then you left me, you leave me, you go out there, it fails, and you finally come back, and I'm going to bring you home, and I'm always going to accept you. So it's like this imagery of the prodigal son that you see in this story here. But just that beginning, right? Israel was a child. I loved him. The more out of Egypt I called my son, right? This intimacy that he shares, the more they were, and this is interesting, the more they were called, the more they went away from me. So the more that I loved them and pursued them, the further they went and left. And it just goes back to kind of that the prostitute imagery that Hosea goes and marries a prostitute who just continually leaves him. And in that verse 3, it's like, it was I who taught Ephraim how to walk. I took him by the arms, and they did not realize that I was the one who healed him. I led them with cords of human kindness and with ties of love. To them, I was like the one who lifts a little child to the cheek, and I bent down to feed them. So there's like this parent, father, mother language, right? Of just like, yo, I raised you. Like, it was me. You don't realize like what I did to bring you to the place you are. And then every time, you know, you got to a place, or you never gave me the credit that was due to me for the work that I put in making you who you are, right? You're just an ungrateful little kid, and it's and you know, a little brat, and it's just crazy to see the heart of God just broken here over that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I think you kind of see the parallel, right, between. So I've obviously missed most of Hosea with you guys, but through the transition.
Yeah.
Me. But you know, like I just think back, like the point you were just saying about like Hosea 1, Hosea 2, some of those early stages where Hosea is kind of you know, beginning and trying to figure out why God is putting him through that. Right? Maybe even as a reader, you're like, you know, why is God doing this to this guy? You know, like why is he having to, you know, go marry a prostitute? Like what's the point of that? And I think here you're kind of seeing in Hosea 11 just the, you know, kind of the reasoning, kind of the what it's paralleling, right, in terms of what God is doing, what God is journeying on. And I think too, something I love about the Old Testament and a lot of these situations with you know, when God begins to speak, right, is just this nostalgia, I get this feeling that God has of, oh man, remember when this was happening, how God sort of recalls those moments. And I think for me, that was not the way I always understood God, or I never really saw God in that way. Like it was always just kind of, okay, God's my father, but I don't think he really reminisces or cares about any of those elements. He's just my father, and he's there to tell me what to do, not necessarily like, you know, think about, oh man, I remember when we did this, or I remember when you took like that. At least I had never thought of God as a father in that setting. It was more of just somebody who was there to tell me what to do, who was there to point out my flaws. It's very different. And I thought it was like, just when it was saying, I do think it was interesting though. And I think you kind of see the pain that God feels when he says, as I tried to pull closer, you pulled away, essentially. And that's crazy. I think about, just that imagery and that idea, with, that he's been seeing with Israel, like he'll send somebody, right. Or he'll do something. And then just always, whether it's the golden calf, whether it is complaining about being in the wilderness, there's always just like the moment I take a step, it feels like we take 2 steps away from each other. And how he just describes like his motivation, out of drew them with gentle cords, with bands of love. I don't know. I feel like, I love the poetic language too that God uses, which I think speaks to just how he views us, which I think is very different than traditionally how we think and even speak of God. We tend to, I think it was the other day, someone was telling me that one of my friends, he works in AC, so he travels to a lot of different places. He'll go to a lot of different homes, and he said that he was at work, and most of the guys on his team are not Christian, and so he went over, and they were at someone's house who was Christian. I think they may have been Adventist, and actually, no, I don't think they were Adventist. I mean, not do that to us. But they went over, and just like the guy asked him, like, "Are you guys saved? Are you guys Christian?" And he's like, well, that AC unit is hot, but hell is hotter. And that was sort of his evangelism pitch, right? Which was this idea of God who is either like, you either love me or I'm going to send you to this hot place. And I think that contrasts so much with what the imagery we're seeing right here, in Hosea, and like what God is wanting to do. Like there's just still this calling, this deep feeling that God has towards humanity, that he has towards the ones he loves. And I would even say to a certain degree, I think God feels that even for Lucifer, right? That sort of pain of, man, this is what transpired. Right.
Right.
What could have gone differently. It's a totally totally different concept in the way I think of God, but you see here in this text, man, it's powerful.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. To think about. That I can just imagine that conversation.
Yo,
yeah, the AC's hot, and this is when this comes out right here. Like, what?
exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's a whole nother conversation of how we do evangelism and share.
It's such a disservice, man.
It really is, man.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's just such a disservice to what the heart of God is, right? Mm-hmm. And to what God is actively trying to do. And maybe to a certain degree, people just, that is the image that they've been discipled into, you know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And so that is, you know, a lot of times I don't fault people too much for it. I try to offer some grace, some level of grace.
Right. And be like, well, let's try something else instead. Yeah.
Because to a certain degree, I thought that way too, man. You know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I think when you come in, it's just kind of like, that's your go-to always of just, this is, you know, you gotta expose and just show people, hey, you're right, you're wrong, you know, and this is gonna lead you to hell, right? But there's like, that doesn't always work, I guess.
Like Christianity becomes like a fire escape or something. Like it's the fire escape route, and I feel it's so obviously to God it's much more than that, you know. Like there's this, it almost feels like hesitation, right? To like even allow them to step into something different than him, right? He wants to give the choice, but he's, you know, that sort of choice force dynamic and love and choice, like all of those things I think are colliding here, and you're seeing God sort of work through that, and you feel this nostalgia of what was, right? Of what he felt, what he thought. And so,
that's good. You know, and what's interesting too, talking about in those lines of how God warns them, right? Obviously, he'll talk about like exile and pain, and you know, it doesn't talk about much about death. But what's interesting here, I think, in the context of Hosea being kind of like the sexual innuendo language, right? Of just like go marry a prostitute, love her again. It's kind of like God saying throughout the book, like you're not going to be satisfied out there, right? And that's drawn from that intimacy language into more of like in life, you know, when you're away from God, you know, the one that is really wanting to bless you and do good to you, apart from him, you're not going to be satisfied, and that's going to lead to more pain, and it leads to their exile and the decisions that they make. And so you kind of see just that dynamic, right, where it's like, man, the more I know what's coming up, and I know we've probably heard it a lot as young people, and as we get older, we kind of do the same thing now. Like, I remember what it was being in your shoes, and you think that's cool, but that's not going to lead the right, you know. And it's like, it's tough, because when you're hearing that, you're like, oh, you don't know, it's different times, and there's different factors and different contexts, but it's kind of got like, I know where this is going to head, and it's not going to be what you want it to be. But I kind of relate to that part where we were saying, just the more I call out to them, the further away they go. I'm not going to call her name out, but there was this girl I liked when I was in high school. It was bad. Yeah, I don't know if I was desperate. I don't know what happened. But I wanted her to say yes to being my girlfriend, and she just wouldn't, you know. And so, like, you know, the first time, you know, you kind of get into that natural progression. We've been hanging out. We met, you know, we're kind of, you know, at school, we sit together for lunch and stuff. And then, you know, I'll pop the questions like, hey, you know, it's time. Do you want to be my girlfriend? You know? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, all right. And it's just, you know, every day I just got really annoying, and I kept asking, what about now? What about now? Did you think about it? And I kind of, you know, even though it was very annoying of me, I kind of felt that idea where the more I asked and the more I, you know, wanted her to say yes to being my girlfriend, the more she went away from me, right? To the point where we never really got together or anything. And I was like just disappointed, right? But just a small, I think we've all kind of felt that in some way, right? The more you pour out into something, the further it feels like people can go or in the other direction, and you just feel slighted. And man, I mean, I can't imagine putting myself in Hosea's shoes, and then your girl just leaves and goes back to being what she was, and it's like, all right, I'm moving on. I'm not gonna. And God's like, no, go back and love her again. It's like, dude, I can't do that. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah. That's, I don't know if they're radical or senseless. It just doesn't like if someone ask you for advice, you would be like, I mean, just cut that out. Like, move on. Like, but yeah, it's wild, man.
It is wild. It is wild, man. So Hosea 11, beautiful there. God continues. And then in verse 5, he's like, will they not return to Egypt, and will not Assyria rule over them because they refuse to repent? So he's saying, look, you're gonna end up going here. This is what's gonna come, right? A sword will flash in their cities, right? It will devour their false prophets that throughout the Old Testament they were prophesying and saying, no, nothing bad will come, don't worry, and put an end to their plans. And then this is powerful for me. This is a really powerful quote, which just I think highlights the condition. My people are determined to turn from me. Like, even though they call me God Most High, I will by no means exalt them. So it's kind of this idea, like they're just persistent in not wanting to be close to God, right? Like it's just they're just determined to turn away from me. They have their mind set on it, and they're just going to continually do that over and over and over. And if we were in the place of God, we probably would be like, all right, that's it. Let's just zap them, take them out of here. I'm done.
My version says, my people are bent on backsliding. So you got kind of the old language there, backsliding.
Let's see what the message says. Yeah. Backsliding. Yeah, it's just people that are continually wanting to do the same thing. Let me look up the message real quick. My people are hell bent on leaving me.
Yo.
All right. Message.
Literally hell bent, huh?
They are literally bent towards hell. Oh man. But then it's interesting. You get to verse 8, and he has this kind of like this question that he kind of asks himself, right? I guess it's more rhetorical. He's seeing the situation all throughout here. It's like, hey, the people suck, man. They just been going back. Like the more I love them, the more they leave me. They're determined. They're bent on leaving and forsaking me. But then he says, how can I give you up? Like, how can I hand you over? And what's crazy is that it says, my heart is chained within me. All my compassion is aroused. And what's interesting here is like that word that is used for aroused is kind of like a fierce, it's kind of like the song, How He Loves, right? Where he is jealous for me. Like, it's like a hurricane. So he's like, there's this, like in his heart, there's this turmoil to really, that's like a storm brewing in him of compassion, which is very interesting language. That is kind of the same language that is used to destroy something or to overwhelm something. And he's like, how can I just can't do, like, you're my son, right? You're my daughter. And I think that happens a lot. I've seen that, we're working with churches, kids make mistakes. And some parents are like, they're out of my house. They're done. If someone gets pregnant, they have to do it by themselves. And then the baby comes around with the mom, this daughter, and they see the baby, they see the daughter, and they're like, all right, you're always going to be my son and daughter. Like you're just compassion. You just can't fight that parental love and compassion for your kids. And so as much as you want them to learn from your consequences, and it's needed, there are these moments where it's like, how can I just give you up? How can I hand you over? And that's tough. That's tough. The position of God, right? Where he just loves so much and is full of compassion, where he's like, you deserve to be punished and exterminated, but my compassion towards you can't. It's tough. I can't, it doesn't allow me to do that.
Yeah, man, that's great. That's super powerful, man.
Yeah.
And it's especially like, and I was sharing earlier, like it's especially like meaningful for me because I remember when, so I'm not sure if you, I don't know, when you were in seminary, if you took a class from Peckham, shout out to the man, Peckham.
Shout out to Peckham.
Dude, so I took a class from him called Doctrine of God, and it really like honed in on just this idea of like these different aspects of what divine love was like. And I remember this particular verse being used to kind of communicate that God's love was emotional, that it was emotional, powerful feeling that God had, and this like you're describing this overwhelming, this hurricane, this fierceness that God feels towards humanity, that God feels towards his inclination to love, and even paralleling that to maybe some of the times how we feel of like I just want to love you so much, like how we may feel that, whether that's
like the cute aggression
or a partner,
Yeah.
just like just this
Yeah.
this intense,
right.
intensity that I think at least for me, I'd always sort of associated with. Yeah, I'd always only associated with humans. I had never really associated it with God, with with divinity. And so, and I was just looking,
That's good. That's good.
And I think here, you see it deeply. And obviously, I think this text is maybe one of the more used texts in Hosea to communicate that.
Right.
Just this feeling of how can I give you up? How can I let you go? Right. And it feels like, to kind of use your breakup, right? That sort of breakup feeling of, man, how can I just let this? How can I close the door? How do I turn the page?
Yeah.
That dynamic where as I'm trying to turn the page, my heart is still.
I just love you so much.
Aggressively, just passionate for you and in love and realizing too that I think too we kind of think, and even paralleling what you were saying earlier about sort of the sexual love dynamic. I think we sort of associate passion with maybe sexuality or some of these other things, but realizing that it just works hand in hand with what we feel, in love, or even when, if you've ever been in an argument with a spouse or argument with a partner or somebody and you're like, man, there's just this passion that you feel for it to be made right. And then even the passion that you feel after things have been made right. Like, I just, I'm so grateful things have been restored, right? And I think there's that desire for God to feel that. Let's return to that. And I think for him, he's just waiting for a text back, as we would say. Or a call, or
he's tired of getting ghosted.
Just hanging out by the phone, man, just waiting for
just call him back.
A response. Which to what I was saying earlier, like I never saw divine love in that context, right? It was always like,
that's good.
Okay, you're turning away from me. All right, cool. We'll just add you to the list of those going to hell. Like that was
kind of like Santa Claus with the naughty and nice list, right? It's you were naughty. All right. Yeah.
Well, that's your choice. I guess maybe next year. Enjoy the coal, and then next year maybe you'll try to get on the good list.
Maybe you'll learn. Yeah.
And it's so it's just crazy, man. It's beautiful even now to kind of see like just that shift. Yeah,
dude. That's a great point. And I think when you were talking, I just had the idea, like just the idea that, like you were saying, many times we make, and it's Peckham's turn, right? Like that God is impassible, where he just can't.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel, he's not affected by our emotions or what's going on. He just is, right? And he is, right? Though, but he's more of a stoic. And here it's just like this beautiful imagery of, the realization that the feelings we have, though imperfect many times, are the feelings that God has as well, right? That we got, we're made in his image, so we got these feelings of whether jealousy, right, in a pure form, not in a bad way, anger, frustration, disappointment, love and desire, right, for intimacy. That all comes from God, right? And he himself, as we're seeing it here, he's feeling that. He's frustrated, as many of us have been, right, when things don't turn out the way we wanted them to be, or when we're upset with relationships that we have, and people have disappointed us, and yet we see that, hey, God is a very approachable God because he feels that way, right? So when that, I think many times in religion we have this idea where you have to, when you are in the right place mentally or emotionally, then you can come to God. Don't come when you're upset, come when you're ready to praise. And here we're seeing a God that he himself goes through his moments where he's just frustrated and upset and conflicted, right? As he's saying, hey, you deserve punishment, but how can I give you up? Like, how can I do this? So it's a beautiful image. I don't want to say that you make God more human, but you realize just how close to us God is in terms of even knowing how we feel and experiencing the emotions that we feel.
Yeah. And I think what you were saying too, just about kind of being made in the image, I think it kind of, I think we write off emotions as bad typically, but realizing, hey, like, those are found embedded into the heart of God as well. And, and so for us to be made in his image, this, makes sense. It kind of brings it to life, man.
Right. And obviously, what we do with our feelings and our emotions, how we react is very important. God never does that. He's always acting in the best interest of others and in a loving and whole way. But but the feelings themselves, right? God has those, and but He always chooses mercy, right? Where here, you're going down the towards the end of the chapter in Hosea 11. You're thinking, all right, he's gonna rain down fire, just like other, Jonah wanting fire down, James and John saying, burn up this Samaritan town, right? Like, kill them all. And instead of doing that, as he's working through this and saying, how can I give up the son that I raised, right? Israel was the people. These are my people that I brought up. He says, well, instead I'm going to roar like a lion, right? Kind of like, my God's not dead, surely. Yeah, that great. If you hear that at night, it's kind of freaky when that part comes up.
That's like your
summer
alarm.
camp. Yeah, summer camp. We've been driving back, and then it was like, my God's not. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, when I did summer camp, that was the song as well. God's not dead.
Yeah, which is great. A great song, but yeah, it is. At night, you're like, oh, why the whisper? But it's interesting, kind of this Chronicles of Narnia imagery, right? Which I'm guessing, who wrote it? I forgot now. Wow, who wrote Chronicles of Narnia? Was it Wow, how did
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis. Okay, that's what I'm about to say. Yeah, it is. How do we forget one of our greatest?
Man.
Wow. So the book by C.S. Lewis, right? He portrays God Aslan as the lion, and here we have the imagery. So I'm assuming he kind of maybe got it from one of these or other areas where God's portrayed as a lion, the Lion of Judah. And here he's like a lion, and what he's going to do is just roar. And his children will come trembling from all areas, right? They'll come trembling, like animals. They'll come like sparrows flying and trembling. The idea that they're going to humble themselves, right, and finally just acknowledge, "Hey, you're right, God. We love you." Kind of like the prodigal son coming with his tail between his legs and just saying, "Yo, I searched out there, and I realized." But there's a beautiful, merciful part where here you're thinking, "Oh God, he's going to come out and just as a lion go on a rampage and eat them up." He's just using his power to just draw people to himself. And then at the end, it's that beautiful, I will settle them in their homes, right? So these refugees of life that don't have a place where they can really are finding fulfillment and satisfaction and what they're desiring. And though they keep leaving me, I'm going to bring them to me, and I'm going to, give them a home and provide all that they need. So it's just a beautiful hope that we're presenting, that God, instead of always pursuing the negativity and going towards extinction, he's always, even to the last second, being compassionate as much as possible, and desiring that we all, kind of come home to him. So, yeah, man, God's love for Israel.
Yeah, man, that lion roar is sticking out to me, because I think when you hear a lion roar, you're thinking like, oh man, he's about to attack.
Yeah,
he's about to destroy everything that you were just saying. But it also could just be like just this passion, this feeling, pain. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing from God. Like that is just an expression of whether it is frustration or pain or emotion. Like that is what it represents, and maybe a relinquishing, to a certain degree of his control, his ability, in that moment. So yeah, when he roars, then his son shall come trembling from the west. But how that calls people, towards him. And yeah, I mean, it's just different, because I think we associate things like that with, well, that's the impending doom and gloom of God. But what is deep seated within that is love guiding that, and passion.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's beautiful. And just kind of like the, like they say, don't mess with a, mama lion or mama bear when the cubs are around. It's the same thing, God's like, these are my kids. These are my, as much as they disappoint me and do things I don't want them to do, they're still mine, right? And I still love them, and they're always welcome home. So powerful imagery of God.
Man.
Beautiful. Hosea 11. Yeah. So just a raw picture of God's heart in the Old Testament. Obviously, you get to the New Testament and you see Jesus, and you hear the words of God himself and how he treats others, and it really backs up this love that he had for all people, and for helping those that couldn't help themselves, and the outcast of society. So Hosea 11, one of my favorite books, very kind of, I guess you would say, graphic, but it paints a beautiful picture of the love of God towards us. So beautiful. Thanks, Stephen, for your thoughts. Now we can jump into our lightning round as we close up. So first part, you kind of mentioned you were watching the Olympics a little bit. So thoughts so far on the Olympics?
I haven't checked the medal count recently, but
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
know, I mean, I'm super impressed with what's her name, swimmer Katie
Ledecky. Yeah, man.
Man, I think she's like. I mean, we always kind of think of Michael Phelps, but I think she's kind of the woman. You know, she's created her own legacy. You know, on the woman's side of swimming. I think she's broken a bunch of records. And then there was another guy, a male swimmer, who I think did really well. And Sydney McLaughlin, right? Is she the hurdler? Right? Is that her name?
No, McLaughlin. Yeah, McLaughlin. Yeah, she's a hurdler. She's good.
Yeah, I think she got a new world record. And yeah, I mean, just you know, it's super awesome. I just wish the Olympics were a little bit easier to watch. It's just
the times and everything is just like
Peacock. I don't know if this is Peacock.
Oh, true. Are they showing it for free?
I don't. I think it's like a free trial thing or something. Okay. But I think you end up having to pay in the end. Haven't seen any of USA basketball.
Yeah.
I know that the soccer was pretty good too. A little bit of it that I saw when I was on the road last week. I watched some of it. So not as much this week, but it's been. I mean, it's amazing to see the talents, man. And it's just crazy. I just think about the heartbreak. We were just talking about heartbreak. The heartbreak of losing early or something. You know, and you're like, oh, I gotta wait another 4 years before I can avenge this. I'm gonna be 4 years older. Yeah, so it's been good. It makes me feel like I'm in 2020 because all the marketing says Tokyo 2020.
I know that happened for this, and then I think we went to a Gold Cup game, and it said the same thing. It was a Copa America game in Orlando, and it said 2020, and we're like, something's off. But I guess they're just reusing everything.
Trying to keep the branding, man.
And it's probably because they don't want to add 4 years to 2021. They still want it to be 2024, right? So it's like
they still want it to be in the same sequence,
Right. So we're just gonna keep it like
because the next Olympics will just be 3 years from now. Then
3 years from now, yeah. So, so far, it's been good, man. I've been, watching a lot of things are happening. I got YouTube TV to watch, the different soccer tournaments that we had, and I've kind of kept it around. I might cancel it, but then football comes around. I don't know. That's how they get you, man.
That's how they get you, bro. They know
but
you.
It's been so easy to not just go. But I don't know. YouTube TV sometimes shows something that's live. It says live, but it's like pre-recorded live already. So I don't know if I'm watching the live thing or it's a rerun. So I get on Twitter and then I find out, oh, okay, this is happening live. So yeah, we've been watching some of the track and field. The swimming was intense. I haven't really seen basketball because they either play really early or soccer too, or like 4 a.m. type of thing. So yeah, that's been interesting. But
I think the finals today, the basketball final, I think is today.
I think so. Yeah, right.
Despite it all, USA made it to the.
They did, yeah. I guess let's see. I thought they were going to play Slovenia, but they played today at 10:30. Wait. Oh, at 10:30 p.m. Oh.
10:30 p.m. Yeah.
And then the tournament is tomorrow, 7 a.m. is the bronze medal. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. So, what about for volleyball? Let's see. But yeah, we'll have to see. All right, what about thoughts on Messi? I know we don't have our insider.
I know those are the guys.
Brian or Gabe, but
I mean, I hope he goes to PSG. That's probably the unpopular opinion, but once I saw that, I was like, oh man, he might as well come to PSG for a little bit. I mean, and in other Messi news, I'm glad he finally got his, his Euro Cup. Glad he finally got one.
Yep.
Copa. Yeah, I'm glad he finally got one, man. I know it's been elusive for him for a while.
Yeah, it really has, man. It's like, it's been elusive.
I mean, for selfish reasons, I'd love to see Messi come to America, but American soccer is just not.
It's not. I mean, he'll just.
I mean, you'll get money, but
he'll make good money. I mean, the stadiums would be packed, but
it just feels like an admission that you're no longer good. Like that's kind of what it feels
like. It's like this is just like literally just doing it for the money, not competition. What are you gonna win? Like an MLS trophy? I mean, it's just not, the prestige isn't really there.
Yeah, I mean, no one really. No one out here really. I think I was talking to my friend, and I was like, "Do you ever hear someone that's like, man, I got to get home and watch that MLS game?"
It's like, nah, man.
Yeah, I don't think you really ever hear that, unless
Yeah.
like somebody was like there, like Messi or somebody
Mm-hmm.
big time. I remember, was it David Beckham when you were in high school came to the Galaxy?
Right.
And that was like a big thing, a big boon for MLS. But,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know where he's gonna go. I mean, it seems like he's gonna go to PSG, which would be cool because then that would put him with Neymar.
Neymar and Mbappe. Yeah, they have a stacked team, man.
That would be the Avengers.
Yeah,
but,
they have a stacked team, man, to win the.
But I feel like that doesn't always work in soccer.
It yeah.
I don't like. I feel like in soccer and in baseball that doesn't work the same.
You can have all the best players. Yeah, you can have all the best. Yeah, you really got to coexist and. Yeah. But the benefit there is that I mean Neymar and Messi have played together.
Yeah,
and as long as you have them there and the people scoring the ball, that's a lethal team there. So we'll see. Yeah. The problem now is that a lot of teams that originally thought they would have a chance now got players because for up to yesterday we all thought he was going back to Barca. They got a new leadership. Everything looked good, and then they had some issues financially. So. Everyone else that had money before, like Man City, which was Messi's choice before, one of his choices. Now they got new players, so they can't. So,
yeah, that's where I thought he was gonna go, like from a few months ago.
Yeah. So, all right, this is a very important question. When is the perfect hair day after a haircut?
When is the perfect hair day? It's
like at what point is the hair?
3 days. That's kind of.
Yeah, because the same day it's still kind of like either too low. It's kind of like it's right there, and the second day it's gonna be I think 4 days. I think is the
4 days is typically that's kind of when you want to schedule it out.
I think that's what remember Maurice from Campus Ministries.
Yes.
Yeah, he would always say I think it was 3 or 4 days. He said so if you have a wedding come up, cut it 3 days before.
3 days. I mean that's exactly how it was for mine. Mine looked great for the wedding.
3 days.
But funny story on those haircuts, man, was my cousin, who's my best man in my wedding. We both went in for a cut the same day, and it was 3 days out for my wedding. And it was his new spot in I think we're in LA. Yeah, in LA. And the man gets his hair cut like he was just trying to get the fade, like a one fade, kind of similar to how you tend to cut it. Mm-hmm. But the guy cut it all the way up, so it was like a one the whole way around.
No.
And he still left the top, but he was like a one. It was like short the whole way around.
Oh, there was no fade up. Yeah,
there was. So they, and all the photos, man. He was the best man. And he's just like, oh my gosh. She's like, I can't believe this. I'm like, my haircut was done, and so I'm watching his, and I'm like, yo, I've never seen his head. This is my cousin. I've never seen my cousin's head. And then, I just see him go, and he puts his hand back there,
and he's like, oh. It feels the same. There's no yeah.
And he's like, and it's short, so we always talk about that, man.
You can't really.
And he was thinking oh man, maybe in 3 days it'll look better, and it was so short that it looked like he had just gotten a cut.
Yeah,
but yeah, 3 to 4 days is
3 to 4 days. I think is a safe. Yeah, if you get a good cut.
Unless your barber just goes wrong.
Unless he messes it up. Yeah.
And then
you're sad. Yeah. I got it. My barber's in Cali right now on vacation, so when he comes back, I'm gonna go get cut because my hair is just super long.
Yeah.
So, but all right, last one. Lakers thoughts. I know we have our own group chat. We kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
You've been able to sit on it for 3 days now, 3-4 days.
Man, it's tough. I'm a huge Westbrook fan, so I love Russell Westbrook.
You like that? You like that signing? Yeah.
As an individual player.
Okay.
My struggle is I don't know how well he fits, and I've shared it with you. I just don't know how well he's gonna fit.
Right.
Because the one thing Russ cannot do is shoot well. And obviously the last couple of years that's been our issue, shooting. Mm-hmm. But it feels like maybe with once we got Malik Monk, I think Bazemore can hit a spot up three.
Right.
We've got a couple guys that can hit Melo. And LeBron is kind of off and on, and even AD can kind of get out there and shoot them every now and then. Wayne Ellington. I mean, I think we'll be okay shooting wise. We do feel old, but then a lot of times these older teams tend to kind of have that pedigree or whatever you need to to not get phased in some of these big moments, these
Mhm.
high leverage games. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. I think either way it'll be fun. I don't know if we'll get a championship, kind of like we were talking about the other day. I don't know if we'll get a championship. Maybe we
Right,
will.
right.
I think the thing that's bothering me, how do I say this?
Politely.
Do you know? Okay, yeah. So if you look at where LeBron has left, right, throughout his career, he was in Cleveland.
Right.
Not so much Cleveland the first time. I'd say Miami and then in Cleveland the second time.
Mhm.
Like when he was there, they're just like gearing up. Like they're getting everybody. They're on these sort of championship runs. They're trying to
Right.
acquire as many people. They're getting people on these short-term deals. But they sacrifice their young talent in
Longevity.
order to.
Yeah.
And then they are trash for the next 5 to 6 years. Like Cleveland is still terrible right now.
Yeah. That is the tough part.
And so for me, I'm just like, have the Lakers done the same thing? That's kind of how I feel with
They've kind of gone all in, and then after this, you kind of
like what LeBron is 36. He'll turn 37 this year.
Right.
Outside of AD, who do we have to kind of pair? And I guess the expectation is, I think in Los Angeles is, we'll just get somebody to go alongside of AD. But that was what we said in the years post Kobe. And nobody came until LeBron was the first person that was like, I want to come play for the Lakers. So that's kind of my thing. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, if we don't get one,
but yeah,
are we just going to be garbage for the next 7 years after that? Because of
how everything.
The league is spread with talent from the Lakers right now.
It really is.
Chicago, New Orleans, Washington, New York, Julius Randle.
Yeah, Utah. Yeah. I mean,
Utah,
you have D'Angelo. Where's D'Angelo in Timberwolves?
D'Angelo's on the Timberwolves. Yeah.
Yes, that's true, man. That's kind of the thought there. I mean, I think you're banking on AD being around for a while, so you just kind of you're going to have players there. But for now, it really seems like they've ramped up. I'm impressed how he was able to get players for so little money. Not knowing that they didn't have a lot of room, and I feel like he got quality players. Obviously, if we would have gotten them, 10 years ago, they would have been in their prime. But
we probably wouldn't have gotten them 10 years ago.
We probably wouldn't. Yeah. But I think, because everything's kind of so open, I think we'll be okay. Kawhi still might not even play next year. We don't even know if he's. I mean, for all things, he'll probably be with the Clippers, but you never know. He might be in some other place. I don't think there's anyone I'm really scared of. Knowing that we have Russ. I mean, Nets maybe, but
it actually feels like the East is more competitive, more competitive than the West right now.
But Chicago's stacked up.
Chicago, New York
is big. I mean, Kemba, that's crazy. Yeah,
Brooklyn,
Celtics haven't
Philly.
haven't really made a move, but
I heard Portland. I heard there's the conversation right now of Portland
for
either trading CJ McCollum or Damian Lillard for Ben Simmons. So they're trying to figure I think Philly wants Damian Lillard, and if they get Damian Lillard, I mean the East is the better conference now.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
We'll see how it happens, man. I'm excited.
But either way, I think the Lakers will probably come out the West. I just don't know what it will look like 3-4 years from now.
That's a great point. Yeah, just longevity. It'll be interesting. So, it's a great conversation, but we'll see. As long as if we can get another one, I think it'll be successful. 2 or 3. If we can get this one next year, I don't know. One at a time, but if we can get this one,
if we can get one, like it's worth it, man.
Yeah, man. Because we have one, in this span. If you can get another one, you get 2 in the time that in the 4 or 5 years that LeBron was there. I mean, LeBron could play till he's 75, so who knows how. But
Tom Brady of basketball, basically.
Yeah, as long as people stay healthy, man, we should be all right. But
yeah.
Well, sweet guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope y'all have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next time. Peace.